Broken and ashamed, Phillip Schofield in front of a TV camera once again to say he is desperately sorry. His affair with a younger member of staff on This Morning was a grave error, he says, but not a crime.
I have brought myself down. I am done. I have to talk about television in the past tense, which breaks my heart.
The presenter describes his career as over, but there were tearful words of support today from the presenter who's standing in for him.
You know, I loved Phillip Schofield, and it's weird because I still love Phillip Schofield. However, what he's done is wrong. He's admitted it, he's said sorry. But as a family, we're all really struggling to process everything.
Also tonight, the teenage terrorist turned in by his mother gets a life sentence for planning attacks. Jose Mourinho is charged by UEFA for swearing at a referee in the stadium car park after his team lost a European final. And meet Moon, the baby donkey who was stolen from a farm 2 weeks ago but has made it home to Mum.
This is the ITV Evening News with Geraint Vincent.
Good evening. Phillip Schofield has returned to our television screens, a shadow of the presenter he once was. A week after he resigned from ITV over an affair with a younger colleague, he said his career was over and that there was nothing ahead for him but sadness, regret and guilt. He said that he wouldn't have got through the last week without the support of his daughters. And he acknowledged that to some the affair might have been seen as an abuse of power, though he denied grooming the man. For ITV, it leaves more questions over who knew about the affair and whether it could have been investigated more thoroughly. Martha Fairley reports.
I have brought myself down. I am done. I have to talk about television in the past tense, which breaks my heart.
In interviews with the BBC and The Sun, Phillip Schofield says his TV career of over 40 years is finished, and the past few weeks have had a serious impact on his mental health.
It is relentless, and it is day after day after day after day. And if you do that, if you don't think that that is going to have the most catastrophic effect on someone's mind, I have lost everything. And if my girls hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here, because I don't see a future.
It's the first time he's appeared on camera since admitting an affair with a much younger and more junior colleague on This Morning. He also defended the programme, denying there's any toxic culture. In the studio, there were tears as today's hosts reflected on his words.
I was finding it really painful because obviously, you know, I loved Phillip Schofield, and it's weird because I still love Phillip Schofield. However, what he's done is wrong. He's admitted it, he's said sorry. But as a family, we're all really struggling to process everything.
This Morning bosses have confirmed Holly Willoughby will return to the show next week. But with an ITV external review still to come, it doesn't yet draw a line under the matter for Schofield.
I think a lot of the damage has been done. But I do think by him coming on and saying, no, this wasn't the case, this is incorrect, it has limited potential further damage, I'd say, by him putting that point across.
Schofield admits he lied when ITV investigated rumours about him and the young man.
He was asked quite a bit. I was asked a couple of times. So, you know, it's... and it wasn't formal. But, yeah, I think... Bearing in mind that there were two people who were absolutely intransigent in their denial, that it would have been pretty hard.
But while he claims there was no cover-up or abuse of power, ITV's boss will face questions from MPs later this month on the broadcaster's approach to safeguarding. Martha Fairley, ITV News.
A teenager who wrote about wanting to torture and mutilate British soldiers has been jailed for plotting acts of terrorism. Matthew King, who was an Islamic State fanatic, staked out police stations and army barracks as he looked for potential targets. Sentencing him to life in prison, the judge at the Old Bailey praised the teenager's mother for referring her son to an anti-radicalisation programme. Sam Holder has this report.
Matthew King's dreams of carrying out a terror attack were foiled, in part, by his own mother. The 19-year-old had converted to Islam and self-radicalised online. His mother reported him to Prevent, the government's anti-extremism programme. And when police began carrying out surveillance, they saw he was doing his own. King scouted potential targets in Stratford, East London, including a train station and a police station. In one clip he uploaded to Snapchat, he filmed 4 unsuspecting police officers with the caption, "Target acquired." He was arrested after a reconnaissance mission to an army barracks. Matthew King sent WhatsApp messages expressing his desire to mutilate British soldiers and to travel to Syria to, in his words, die on the battlefield after killing unbelievers. The authorities believe that if he hadn't been arrested, he was potentially just hours away from either stabbing a police officer or a soldier at a location just like this. King, who'd bought military uniform, pleaded guilty to preparing terrorist acts. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 6 years.
The risks around you, albeit as a young man, are clear and concerning. The way in which you say some things to professionals and yet say the contrary to others means that there is, in my judgment, no clear picture of when those risks may abate.
For both the police and the oft-criticised Prevent programme, King's capture is validation. The scheme is designed for friends and families to report suspicions.
The public are an essential part of us delivering the safety of London and the rest of the country from terrorism. And without the public in this case, we wouldn't have been able to start the investigation in April and be able to disrupt it so quickly in May.
Matthew King can be kept behind bars for as long as he's seen as a risk. But without his mother's intervention, that risk may well have become a reality. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Dozens of people are feared dead and hundreds more injured after a train crash in eastern India. The passenger train derailed and overturned in the state of Odisha, leaving hundreds of passengers trapped inside the carriages. The country's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, has said he was distressed by the scenes and that his thoughts are with the bereaved. Boris Johnson says he's provided the COVID inquiry with all the WhatsApp messages he has access to. He wrote to the inquiry chair today saying if it was up to him, he'd let them have everything she'd requested. But there's a problem with getting the material on the phone he used at the height of the pandemic. Well, let's speak to our political correspondent, Libby Vina. Libby, this isn't straightforward, is it?
No, it isn't. The government seems to be suggesting it wants to test an important principle, which is how much privacy ministers are entitled to when they're using WhatsApp messages. Boris Johnson seems simply to be testing how gullible we are, suggesting that he has actually handed over all the relevant material to Baroness Hallett's inquiry. But at the same time, we've learned that all the WhatsApp messages pertaining to the pandemic, the bulk of the time in which he was running the country, are stuck on an old phone that he's been told to keep switched off and can't access for security reasons. Now, if that looks like the political equivalent of the dog ate my homework, some experts do say it is very puzzling.
It does seem very odd that people didn't think before they told Boris Johnson to close his phone down, yes, to make a record of the contents, given that ministers are using their phones for all kinds of government-related business. So that seems odd. And it also seems odd that our security professionals couldn't find a way of downloading the contents of this phone without having to give it access to the internet and therefore make it potentially vulnerable to others to hack into.
Well, we learned some of the sort of questions that Baroness Hallett hopes that these WhatsApp messages might answer and what she wants to put to the former Prime Minister, such as why he only attended his first Cobra meeting in March 2020, and did he ever say, let the bodies pile high? The arguments about process may seem very dry, but I think when these hearings start in less than 2 weeks' time, they will be explosive.
OK, Libby, many thanks. The Roma manager, Jose Mourinho, has been charged by UEFA for using abusive and insulting language towards the English referee, Anthony Taylor. Mourinho was filmed shouting and swearing at the official in the stadium car park after his side's defeat in Wednesday's Europa League final. It's led to accusations that his behaviour encouraged fans who targeted Mr Taylor and his family at Budapest Airport yesterday. Amy Lewis reports.
Abuse is nothing new for referees, but Anthony Taylor is a long way from the stadium and fearing for his family's safety. Weaving through the airport, he shields them from a violent crowd. Is football really prepared to accept this behaviour towards its officials? The previous day at the Europa League final, Taylor booked the Roma manager Jose Mourinho and showed 13 players yellow cards.
This has been pretty ugly, frankly, tonight. It really has.
Never one to hold back, a frustrated Mourinho vented. He said, "The lads lost a match and I lost it as well, but we haven't lost our dignity, the opposite." Minutes later, he was anything but dignified. As Taylor was trying to leave the ground, Mourinho unleashed and wouldn't stop. Today, there's been widespread support for the English referee.
I'm so sorry for the images I saw for Anthony Taylor. I'm so sorry. So hopefully don't happen again.
That was echoed by UEFA, who have charged Mourinho for his outburst and said it vehemently condemns violent behaviour directed towards its referee Anthony Taylor and his family. Such actions are unacceptable and undermine the spirit of fair play. It seems that football's lack of protection for its referees has led to a place where abusing not just them but their families is considered fair game. Amy Lewis, ITV News.
Security guards at Heathrow Airport are to stage another series of 33 strikes in a row over pay. The Unite Union said the industrial action will take place on almost every weekend from mid-June until the end of August. 2 formal complaints have now been made to the Labour Party about the behaviour of the Swansea West MP, Geraint Davis. It's understood that one of those complaints comes from another sitting MP. Mr Davis had the party whip suspended yesterday, pending an investigation into claims of inappropriate behaviour towards female colleagues. Mr Davis says he does not recognise the allegations. A sightseeing boat is under police guard this evening as part of an investigation into the deaths of 2 children at Bournemouth Beach. A 12-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy died after getting into trouble in the water on Wednesday. Police have said there was no contact between any vessel and the swimmers. Ellie Pitt is in Bournemouth this evening. Ellie, still no detail from the police about what exactly happened.
No, Geraint, all we've heard from Dorset Police Force today is that they won't answer our questions and they won't confirm any of the information that we've put to them. So we're not any clearer really on how the people in the water got into difficulty on Wednesday afternoon. But what we have learnt this evening is that a boat, a pleasure boat that was in the area at the time and that's been seized by police, does not have a licence from the council, and that's despite the local authority's website saying that any vessel carrying passengers for hire must have a licence from them. This pleasure cruiser took passengers from Bournemouth Pier just after 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, came back about 20 to 5, when passengers on board say they saw the emergency services on the beach. Now, the Assistant Chief Constable stressed yesterday that during the incident there was no physical contact between a vessel or a jet ski and the swimmers. But today, a Bournemouth MP has called for a safety review to take place to make sure that any protocols or measures that are in place don't need upgrading. And this is after a 12-year-old girl and 17-year-old boy died after getting into trouble in the water. A man who's in his 40s, who was arrested on suspicion of manslaughter, has been released pending investigation.
Thank you, Ellie. Still to come on the ITV Evening News tonight. train strikes disrupt travel plans for those heading to the FA Cup final at Wembley tomorrow. And the baby donkey, who's now back with his mum, her mum, I should say, as two are arrested on suspicion of stealing her a fortnight ago. Doctors have spoken of their optimism that a new blood test could transform the way cancer is diagnosed. The Galleri test can detect over 50 types of cancer and can be done at a GP surgery. The trial is still in its early stages but has shown promising results so far. Rachel Townsend has this report.
This is a place for Lynn to remember her beloved daughter. Lisa was 39 when she died from stomach cancer. Her initial symptoms were not alarming and doctors first suspected IBS. By the time Lisa was diagnosed, the cancer had spread to her spine, lung and lymph nodes.
She said, "I've got 3 children, how long have I got?" And they said weeks. And she got 14 months. You know, so we were living on like eggshells, thinking, oh, we best do this with her, we best do that with her, making memories. Because we thought the time would just run out. We didn't know she'd be here tomorrow.
Take a seat, thank you.
But now a breakthrough in a major NHS trial could help detect up to 50 cancers at a much earlier stage with a simple blood sample. Early results show the test correctly revealed 2/3 of cancers among almost 5,500 people in England and Wales who'd visited their GP with suspected symptoms. In 85% of those positive cases, it was also able to pinpoint the original source of the cancer.
It really shows that there is a use for this type of test in symptomatic patients who might have cancer. And it really starts to pave the way for us understanding how best to integrate this test into investigations for cancer in the NHS.
But the test is very much a work in progress, and GPs have urged caution.
There clearly needs to be a lot more work done on a bigger sample size, and then we'll have a much better idea about both the potential benefits but also the potential downsides. And what we would want to avoid is large numbers of people being given a false positive test that suggests they might have cancer when in fact they don't.
Results of the study are expected next year when NHS England could roll out a further trial involving another 1 million people. For Lisa and thousands more, this has come too late. But it certainly offers hope. And in a disease as cruel as cancer, the hope is very much needed. Rachel Townsend, ITV News.
Noel Gallagher has been fined over £1,000 for failing to tell police who was driving his car. The musician, who cannot drive, did not provide police with the name of the person behind the wheel when the Range Rover was caught speeding in West London. The organisers at Epsom Racecourse have promised the biggest ever security operation ahead of tomorrow's derby. Animal rights protesters have threatened to disrupt tomorrow's race. And the retiring jockey Frankie Dettori will ride in his final derby tomorrow, and he picked up 2 wins at Epsom today. He won the Betfred Oaks and Coronation Cup to the delight of the crowds in Surrey. Now, it's a tale of 2 derbies this weekend as tens of thousands of fans head to Epsom Racecourse and Wembley, where the 2 Manchester clubs meet in the FA Cup final. But for most, getting there by train won't be an option due to more strike action today and tomorrow. It's now nearly a year since the first walkout and still few signs of resolution. Our consumer editor, Chris Choi, is at King's Cross. What's the impact been today, Chris?
Well, just look, you can probably see some of these departure boards are empty. Others are showing that the services that did manage to get up and running today are now finishing early. Only about half of trains ran in this dispute, which, as you say, is now approaching its 1-year anniversary. Today, the union estimated it's cost the economy about £5 billion, and the union's leader showed no real sign of any settlement.
We've not got any negotiations going on at the moment, so we want to get the companies back to the table. We want the government to facilitate a settlement, and we have to keep going in this dispute. It's part of an ongoing campaign.
Well, tomorrow, I'm afraid that for rail passengers, things get even worse because the train drivers union, ASLEF, is on strike. That is expected to lead to the cancellation of around 60% of services. And now that is coming on the day of many big events, including the FA Cup final, also the Epsom Derby, many big concerts like Beyonce in London, Elton John in Manchester. The rail companies say check before you travel, but with things this bad, many people simply won't be able to travel.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, tomorrow's FA Cup final will be the first ever contested by the Manchester clubs. United have won the FA Cup 12 times already, with City lifting the trophy 6 times. Red hopes rest with Marcus Rashford. He's scored 30 goals so far this season, but he's been outdone by City's Erling Haaland, who scored an astonishing 52. City are also on the verge of history. If they win tomorrow, they'll be just one match away from completing the treble. Only one other English club has managed to do that. It is, of course, United, back in 1999. It all means that in some households in Manchester, it's getting a little bit tense. Here's our North of England reporter, Kelly Foran.
Come on, you Blues! Come on, United!
Nothing divides Manchester quite like these two colours. It's the first all-Manchester final in FA Cup history. Is this a city united by football?
Kidding.
Well, not quite.
The build-up to it, we don't really talk that much, and then...
No, we don't talk at all. And for those who can't yet speak for themselves...
Well, she can't make her own decision, but she can be a red. And then when she's old enough to speak, she'll tell us that she's a true blue.
And it doesn't matter if you're a red or a blue, they don't come much bigger than this. Penalties at Wembley last month set up the historic derby.
Will be Manchester's day.
Already Premier League champions, City have their eyes on FA Cup and European glory too.
Beckham into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it!
The only team to have ever secured the treble, tomorrow's rivals. And it's a title that Manchester United won't want City to take from them.
You know, with having Pep here, I knew that there will be a certain level that we will achieve sooner or later.
The FA Cup final is FA Cup final. Whoever you have to play against, your focus, your desire to win will be always the same.
And might succeed in doing so.
A man who knows what it means is Lou Macari. He scored an FA Cup winner for United more than 40 years ago.
That's the 1977 FA Cup winners' medal. The one thing about Wembley is you don't want to be going up those steps first, because that's the collector losers medal. I'll settle for a draw, I'll settle for extra time, then I'll settle for penalty kicks.
You must have nerves of steel.
I've come to like it at Wembley.
There's less than 5 miles between the clubs, but decades of rivalry. Who'll have the bragging rights?
Come on, City!
We'll know this time tomorrow. Kelly Foran, ITV News.
And from families divided to one reunited, and the baby donkey who was stolen from her paddock on a farm in Hampshire a fortnight ago. 3-month-old Moon was tracked down by police after her owners appealed for help online, and she was returned to her mum, Astra. Charlie Frost has been to meet them.
Welcoming their foal back into the fold, grazing in the June sunshine. It's a perfect picture that's drawing in a half-term crowd. But just 2 weeks ago, these magic moments hung in the balance when baby Moon was stolen.
We love the baby donkey, so we just wanted them to be safe and hope she would come back, and she did.
When I heard she was returned, I was really happy to know that she was safe and back with her parents.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I kept saying to my mum, "Is Moon back yet?" And then she was like, "Not yet." And then yesterday I asked her and she said yeah, and then I was like really happy.
Mum Astra was left distraught when her foal was taken in May. Seen here braying for her missing newborn baby. But on Wednesday, their home, Miller's Ark in Hampshire, got a tip-off, sharing it with police. Moon was found at a farm in Buckinghamshire. Tell me about the moment that you were able to reunite Moon and Astra. How did that feel?
Oh, just amazing. We took the mum up in the trailer to Buckinghamshire in the hope that it was our baby. And there she was, and it was, and they touched noses, and they did a little bray together, and it was very, very special. We just didn't believe it was going to happen, so it was wonderful when it did. Hello. She's a bit cheeky. You're a bit cheeky. Oh, you're a cheeky monkey. She is a bit cheeky.
Thankfully, Moon is in good health. A man and a teenage boy have been arrested on suspicion of theft and released while inquiries continue. But for now, Miller's Ark and its visitors are just happy Moon is back home, where she belongs. Charlie Frost, ITV News in Hook in Hampshire.
And that is all for now. Julie will be back for News at 10. The weather's next. From all of us, good night.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east, especially around tea time. Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Good evening to you. Sunshine as we slide into the weekend. It's looking promising. Just a bit of a cool breeze, taking the edge from the temperatures in places, staying quite chilly around those eastern coasts, but in sheltered, sunnier spots, feeling very pleasant. And a huge area of high pressure remains with us as we topple our way into the weekend. Fine, quiet, settled and dry. Clear skies by day and by night for many locations. Chilly in the next few nights, little change there, but by day, temperatures responding very well in the afternoon, sunshine out of the chilly breeze. Late and low sunshine before dusk this evening, but temperatures soon slide under those clear skies. Another chilly late evening and night ahead. A touch of mist and murk developing across parts of the northeast and parts of Northern Ireland there. The cloud just wafting its way into some locations come dawn. And it will be a chillier start in rural spots for those up bright and early, missing out on a lie-in. A mixture of cloud and brighter skies depending on where you are. And some of that cloud will be nibbled away quite swiftly, so cheering up quite nicely for those with the greyer skies to start the new day. For the rest of us, sunshine from the word go, a stunning Saturday in store. Just a little fair weather cloud bubbling up through parts of Scotland and the southeast of England, but this will tend to be melting away a little later to reveal evening sunshine once more. Highs of 22 or 23 degrees in shelter spots around those North Sea coastlines. Those temperatures a little more modest in that cool and chilly breeze. A similar situation into Sunday, more pleasant sunshine, highs of 23 degrees. Always a touch cooler around the east with the cloud and the breeze.
Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.